In the hot summer of 1989, a crew of bullied youngsters come together to battle a shape-shifting monster that masquerades as a clown and preys on the children of Derry, Maine. Bill Denborough, Jaden Lieberher assists his younger brother Georgie, Jackson Robert Scott, in making the SS. Georgie, a paper sailboat. Georgie wants to go outside in the pouring rainfall to sail it, but Bill is too unwell to accompany him. Georgie runs out to play, and the brothers hug. Georgie cruises through the street in his boat. He pursues it and accidentally hits a barricade. The boat travels to the end of the street before collapsing into the sewer. Georgie rushes to fetch it, fearful that Bill would be enraged. A pair of yellow eyes appear as he glances down the sewer. They are the property of Pennywise the dancing clown, Bill Skarsgård. Pennywise speaks to Georgie in a humorous tone before handing him his boat back. Pennywise grabs Georgie's arm and sinks his huge fangs into it as he lunges for it. Georgie's arm is severed, and he is left wailing for Bill before being dragged down into the sewers. Mike Hanlon, Chosen Jacobs, is introduced when his grandfather Leroy, Stephen Williams, forces him to slaughter a sheep with a nail gun. Leroy instructs the youngster before carrying out the job himself. Today is the last day of school. Bill and his friends Richie Tozier, Finn Wolfhard, Eddie Kasprak, Jack Dylan Grazer, and Stanley Uries, Wyatt Olef, all members of the Losers Club, are off to begin their vacation. Unfortunately, they come into contact with the school's psychotic bully Henry Bowers, Nicholas Hamilton and his thugs Patrick Hochstetter, Owen Teague, Victor Chris, Logan Thompson, and Belch Huggins, Jake Sim. After the punk mocks Bill's buddies, Henry approaches Bill threateningly until he notices his father, Officer Bowers, Stuart Hughes, standing behind Bill. He goes away after licking his palm and rubbing it on Bill's face. Beverly Marsh, Sophia Lillis, is smoking in the restroom. Bev is taunted and accused of being a slut by a bunch of cruel girls led by Greta, Megan Charpentier. One of the girls fills a garbage bag with water and throws it on Bev, but she hides her face behind her book. Beverly encounters the new youngster, Ben Hascom, Jeremy Ray Taylor, on her way out of the building. He is bullied because of his weight, and he has no friends. Ben appears to develop feelings for Bev as she autographs his yearbook. When Bill returns home, his father Zach, Jeffrey Pouncett, chastises him for building a replica of Derry's sewage system with tubes since he still believes Georgie is just missing. Zach advises him to accept Georgie's death. Mike goes to the butcher store to pick up some meat. He hears what sounds like shouting and hammering behind the door surrounding the alley. When the door opens, numerous charred hands emerge. Mike then sees Pennywise, but is almost hit by a car driven by the Bowers gang. Mike runs away. Stan is studying for his bar mitzvah at the synagogue. The rabbi's office has a portrait of a lady with a twisted face that frightens him. When Stan takes up the artwork, the woman has vanished. When he turns around, IT appears as a lady with a fanged smile. Stan takes off running. Ben is in the library researching Derry's past. According to a series of publications, children in Derry have been missing under strange circumstances for generations. Pennywise and the lost boy's head in a tree are depicted in the novel. Pennywise then lures Ben into the basement, where he encounters the headless kid before being chased out. Ben is ambushed by the Bowers gang on his way home. Henry's thugs pin him to the bridge railing. Patrick wants to use a lighter and bug spray to burn Ben, but Henry wants to carve his name into Ben's stomach. An elderly couple drives by and notices this but does nothing. The presence of a red balloon implies that IT is present. Ben kicks Henry in the nuts and rolls him over the bridge and into the woods, leaving Henry with only an H. The punks are chasing Ben. Meanwhile, the losers are near the sewers because Bill has persuaded his buddies to assist him in finding Georgie. Ben falls into the water beside them, and the lads pull him to safety. Patrick abandons his pals and heads into the sewers to get Ben. He sees demonic-looking youngsters, prompting him to flee, but he comes to a halt. A swarm of red balloons emerge in front of him and explode, revealing Pennywise, who swiftly devours Patrick. The lads go to the drugstore to acquire cotton balls and bandages, but they are strapped for cash. Beverly is in the store purchasing tampons when she encounters the lads. Bev pretends to flirt with the pharmacist, Mr. Keene, Joe Bostic, after hearing their predicament. He appears to be a weirdo to her, but she manages to divert his attention long enough for the guys to grab the goods and for her to grab some. He appears to be a weirdo to her, but she manages to divert his attention long enough for the lads to steal their supplies and for her to grab some smokes. When Bev notices the lads tending to Ben, she steps outside and joins them. Beverly returns home to her father, Stephen Bogart, who is much creepier than Mr. Keene. He pushes his daughter into the bathroom, prompting her to weep. She then cuts off her hair till it is at a lesser length. The lads, now joined by Ben, are gathered at the quarry, preparing to jump into the lake, but no one wants to be the first to do so. Bev appears and jumps first, inspiring the others to follow. They have a good time swimming and socializing. Later, Ben informs everyone about what he discovered in Derry's past. Eddie is on his way home when he comes upon the abandoned house on Neibolt Street. Eddie is attacked by a leper, Javier Botet, and forced to flee through the house's yard. As he approaches the barrier, he notices Pennywise attempting to entice him. Eddie flees by running under the fence. Bev is in her room, clutching a postcard and a poem written by a secret lover. She believes it was written by Bill, but it was actually written by Ben. Bev can hear children's voices from her bathroom. She looks into the sink where the voices are, and clumps of hair start reaching out to grab her before a fountain of blood gushes all over the bathroom. Mr. Marsh comes in to see Bev horrified, but he cannot see the blood. He simply comments that her hair makes her look like a boy. Bill is walking around the house when he sees what looks like Georgie running around. Shocked, he follows Georgie to the basement, which is flooding. Georgie steps out and invites Bill to join him, saying, "We all float down here." "You'll float too." He repeats, "You'll float too," until he yells and decomposes. Pennywise then emerges from the water and tries to get Bill, but he runs out of the basement. The youngsters are riding their bikes the next day when they come upon Mike's bike and the Bowers gang's automobile. They walk down by the stream to find the punks who are tormenting Mike because he is black. Bev tosses a rock at Henry's head, sparking a rock-throwing war between the two groups. As Henry is knocked unconscious, Mike goes over to the losers' side, while Vic and Belch flee. Bill describes what he witnessed in his house as the kids walk away with Mike. Eddie confirms that he has seen Pennywise. Mike describes what he witnessed and how his old house was burned down by racial goons and his parents perished trying to knock down the door to his room, their skin melting to the bone. Pennywise emerges from the sea and attempts to apprehend Bill, but he runs to the cellar. The youngsters go to Bill's garage and use a projector to look at a map of Derry. They see that the sewers are connected to the Neibolt residence, where IT resides. The projector suddenly begins to function on its own, displaying images of Bill and Georgie with their parents, but with Pennywise's visage superimposed over their mother. They knock the projector over, but it continues to play until Pennywise completely appears from the screen and attempts to kidnap the children. They are able to escape the garage before he can damage them. The losers travel to the Neibolt residence to confront IT. Bill, Richie, and Eddie enter the home, while the rest stand guard outside. Richie freaked out when he discovers a missing poster of himself, but Bill tells him that it's not real. When Pennywise discovers Eddie, he is separated from his buddies. He falls through the floor and breaks his arm in the kitchen. Bill and Richie attempt to reach him through 3 different entrances. When they enter the first door, they find a headless girl. Richie is trapped within a room filled of clown dolls by the next door. He notices a casket containing a dummy of himself. He closes it, and Pennywise leaps out. He attempts to attack Richie, but he flees the room. Pennywise shifts his focus on Eddie, but Bill and Richie reach him before the clown consumes him. Beverly suddenly appears and drives a spear through Pennywise's head, causing him to flee. After seeing Eddie's injured arm, Eddie's mother prevents the losers from hanging out with him. It's already August, and the youngsters have gone about their daily lives. Eddie walks to the drugstore to pick up his asthma medicine, only to have Greta, the pharmacy clerk, inform him that they are placebos. She then scribbles, "loser," on his cast arm. Henry is shooting objects with his father's gun alongside Vic and Belch. He instructs Belch to bring him a cat to shoot, but Officer Bowers arrives to seize Henry's pistol. He then shoots the ground around Henry's feet in order to humiliate him and reveal him as a coward in front of his pals. Henry later notices a red balloon on his mailbox. IT delivered a knife inside. He walks inside when his father is sleeping and the TV is on. A woman and her children appear on the TV, all pushing Henry to murder his father. He does this by inserting the knife into his neck and allowing him to bleed to death. The children on television, all of its victims then begin yelling, "Kill them all. Get them all." Beverly's father tries to act on his passion for his daughter at the Marsh mansion. She fights him off and flees to the restroom. Henry later notices a red balloon on his mailbox. IT delivered a knife inside. He walks inside when his father is sleeping and the TV is on. A woman and her children appear on the TV, all pushing Henry to murder his father. He does this by inserting the knife into his neck and allowing him to bleed to death. The children on television, all of its victims then begin yelling, "Kill them all. Get them all." Beverly's father tries to act on his passion for his daughter at the Marsh mansion. She fights him off and flees to the restroom. The boys go to the Neibolt house and find a well where IT dwells. They climb down a rope, but before Mike can head down, Henry shows up and attacks him. He starts pulling the rope up to prevent the boys from climbing back up. Henry tries to kill Mike with the nail gun that he brought, but Mike fights him off and manages to push him down the well, sending him to his apparent death. Going further into the well, Stan is attacked by IT as the woman from the painting. She munches on his head, but the boys scare IT away and comfort a mortified Stan. All of the lads proceed deeper into the well, where they discover its hideout. All of the youngsters he's abducted are floating up in the dead lights in some sort of trance. Bev is discovered floating by the lads. They drag her down, and Ben kisses her to break her spell. Georgie suddenly emerges from the shadows, which Bill notices. Georgie informs Bill that he missed him and was expecting him to come get him. Bill hugs his brother, but he recognizes him as Georgie and shoots him in the head. His body writhes on the ground until he transforms into Pennywise the dancing clown. The clown attempts to murder the children, but they beat him off until he gets his grip on Bill. Bill tells them to run, but Richie is the first to fight back. The kids then start beating the crap out of Pennywise until he is powerless, unable to hurt them because they no longer fear him. Before Bill can strike the fatal blow to the clown's cracking skull, Pennywise retreats into the darkness and thus escapes. The kidnapped children then float downward. Bill then finds Georgie's raincoat. He realizes that Georgie truly is gone. Bill breaks down in tears as his friends gather around and hug him. It is now September. The losers swear a blood oath to return to Derry in 27 years should IT ever return. They chat for a bit before progressively departing, with only Bill and Bev remaining. She is presently relocating to Portland. Bill comes up to her and kisses her as she walks away.